not the dead, rather the living.
Hi, I'm Reverend Dave Christensen, Director and Lead Investigator for Phantasm Paranormal. To talk to you about the most common causes of hauntings. Remodeling an older home. Buy a house that's 40, 50, 60 years old or even older. More than likely, the spirit of the previous owner is in the house. You may not notice them, you may not have any problems with them, but once you start to remodel this house, that's a different story. Because in their mind, the house still belongs to them, and they're a little bit confused of why you are there. So when you start to remodel, it gets them upset. But a lot of times, once you are done doing the remodeling, as long as it's an improvement that the spirit would be happy with, then they normally calm down. Purchasing antiques. You go to antique stores and you buy things that are, 50 years old, 100 years old. You have to be careful of what you buy because a lot of antiques, they have an attachment to them. Jewelry boxes, personal items, rings, jewelry in general, mirrors, and other furnishings. You have to be careful. You have to watch out what you buy. I just recommend you don't buy any antiques. Possession of personal items from a deceased person. Wedding rings, jewelry, furnishing. It could be anything. It's something that a spirit has attached himself to, something that meant a lot to them and they don't want to let go. So when you take possession of that item, a lot of times they go with it. And most of the time, you won't have any problems, but sometimes you do. Okay, now, Ouija boards. If you have a Ouija board, burn it. We've done a lot of investigations that involved Ouija boards, and we won't do them anymore because that's how big a problem they were. Ouija boards, when you're playing with it, you think you're getting a hold of Aunt Betty or Uncle Joe or great-grandpa Fred. In reality, you don't know what you're getting a hold of. You don't know what you're talking to. A lot of demonic spirits can mimic a past deceased loved one. And you don't know if it's Uncle Joe or who the hell it is. So it's best not to even mess with Ouija boards. Pregnancies. Oh, a lot of spirits, they just love pregnant women. Okay? I don't know why. Okay, maybe it's because of the innocence of the child or, their love of, babies. I love babies. I love pregnant women. I think pregnant women are great. Okay? They're carrying a miracle. Okay? And it's great. I'm very protective of pregnant women, Teenage children going through puberty. Okay, all my kids are grown and out of the house, and it's quiet around here, and I kind of miss it. But when my children were going through puberty, they were driving me nuts. Okay. And especially girls. Girls, they get so emotional. And when they do that, they have a tendency to bring in spirits. I don't know why, but a lot of cases we've done had teenagers going through puberty. And a lot of times, once that teenager passes that stage, it calms down again. Okay? You just have to tolerate it, or you have to get somebody to deal with it for you. Living close to high tension power lines. They could be underground or they can be up on poles. The electricity going through those lines is like a buffet to a spirit. They feed off that energy. Okay? So a lot of times spirits, they'll come into an area where there's high tension lines, power lines, and that's how they get their energy. And some of them are very strong. Others, they'll do minor little things, that might irritate you, but some of them can get pretty violent. Living close to rivers and streams. A lot of people don't know this, but when water is moving, it's creating energy. Okay, the molecules are all banging together and creating a little bit of energy. And sometimes that energy is enough for a spirit to feed off of. Those spirits, they're not very strong, but that energy helps them. They can do minor things, open and close doors, and show themselves to you from time to time, maybe touch you, or you might hear them talking. Visiting cemeteries. Here's a video by Hans Wilhelm that talks about the dangers of cemeteries. A lot of times when you go to the cemetery to visit a loved one, sometimes you might see another grave next to them. You kind of feel sorry for the person for passing away or whatever. And that sympathy, it comforts them. So sometimes, very rare, spirit from the cemetery will follow you home. Whatever you do, do not take little kids to the cemetery, because spirits can attach to a child very easily. So I advise you to leave your children at home and go visit your past relative by yourself or with somebody else. Desecration of graves. I'll tell you what. You'd really have to be a lowlife to desecrate a grave. We did a case, probably about 10 years or so, of this family that was going through a very, very rough haunting. I mean, it was a bad haunting. And it focused on their teenage son. And the spirit was actually causing physical harm to this kid. Well, we couldn't figure out why the spirit was targeting this kid so bad. And we'd ask him questions and everything. And after a while, I just came out and said, "Have you ever desecrated a grave?" I didn't ask him in front of anybody else. I pulled him aside and I asked him. I said, "Have you ever knocked over a gravestone or damaged a gravestone or something like that?" And he looked at me and he said, "Yeah, I went to some cemetery with some friends and we were trying to get the spirits to interact with us, and I kicked over a gravestone and it broke. Boom. So I packed the kid up the following weekend, and I took him out to the cemetery where he broke this grave marker, and we put it back together with some very strong adhesive and stood it back up. And this kid made a very, very honest apology to the person who was buried there. And once we did that, his problems ended. So stay away from, don't mess with graves. Stealing items from a grave too. That happens once in a while. And I don't blame the spirit to follow him home and give him trouble. I don't blame him. I would in a heartbeat. Dabbling in the occult. Nowadays, a lot of teenagers think it's cool to, get into that Wiccan stuff and, try out cool new things, and they just kind of go along with some of their friends. And they do stupid stuff. And they don't know what they're doing. Some of this stuff actually works. Some of this occult practices really work. Spells and everything like that. People got to stay away from that stuff. Stay away from it. Alcoholism and drug addiction. That is a big one. That draws a lot of negative spirits, and it can really cause harm. Physical, mental abuse of someone in the house, same thing. You're going to draw negative spirits, and they can actually, the person who's being physically violent or abusive can get worse. And in some cases, people have been killed because of the abuse. And if you're in an abusive relationship, if you've got a husband, boyfriend that beats on you from time to time, don't think you're going to change him, because you're not. You're not going to change him. And don't think it's your fault. Okay? A lot of these abusers, well, if you wouldn't have done that, then I wouldn't have got so mad and I wouldn't have hit you. No, don't buy into that garbage. Because once a guy hits you, he's going to hit you again and again and again. And they always say, well, it's your fault. I had a girlfriend one time that broke up with me because I wouldn't hit her. And she told me, well, you don't love me because you don't hit me. I looked at her, what are you talking about? She goes, well, my dad hits my mom all the time because he loves her and she does things to make him mad. No. You got a psychological problem there, girl. Don't ever let a guy hit you. If some guy's abusive to you and you need help, you can get a hold of me and I'll do what I can to help you. Psychological problems like schizophrenia. There's a lot of mental illnesses out there that give people hallucinations, audio and visual hallucinations. And if you have audio and visual hallucinations, it won't hurt to go see a psychologist and talk to him about it. Maybe you do have schizophrenia or something. Maybe you inherited it from a family member, And another one, the last one I'm going to tell you about, is ghost hunting. Oh yeah, ghost hunting. I've been followed home, and more than once. And the reason for this is I'll go to a location. I'll pick out, go to a Ball Cemetery in Sarpy County. And I've gone to Ball Cemetery every weekend for 3 months. Well, some of the spirits are going to wonder, well, you come here and you see us, where do you live? And they'll follow you home. They'll get in your car with you and go home with you just to see where you live. Okay? There's other reasons for them to follow you home. They might have an attraction to you. You might be a hot-looking girl or a good-looking guy, and this spirit says, hey, look at that one. Woo, woo, woo. And follow you home. Or you might remind them of somebody. Maybe somebody they loved. Or maybe somebody they hated. Okay? Spirits can follow you. People say, well, spirits can't follow you. Oh, yes, they can. I've been followed home more than once. And some of them decided to stay here with me, which doesn't really bother me, because all the spirits in my house are good. But, chances you're going to pick up an idiot somewhere along the line. But anyway, I'm going to get out of here. I hope this helped you guys. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact us. Okay, we'll be more than happy to answer your question. So, until then, I'll talk to you later.
Have a good night. Sleep well.